Dr. Umar, man. Happy to have you back. It's been a while, man. I mean, I haven't had you on here in a while, man.
Yes, sir. Peace and Pan-Africanism. It's been 6 months. Christmas Day would make 6 months.
Yeah, man. It's been forever, man, since me and you did an interview. But we here now. It's a lot I want to ask you and get your take on. Nicki Minaj. How you feel about the backlash she getting right now?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Nicki Minaj, I have always felt, in my opinion, is one of the most lyrically gifted female hip hop artists that we've had this century. Very talented artist. As you know, she used to date Meek Mill at one point, and he's a phenomenal artist. And her lyrics were not far behind his in terms of quality. So she's a very talented artist, very talented musician, a very beautiful woman. When I saw her interview with Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, it almost blew my mind because I was not aware that she had joined the Donald Trump bandwagon. So this past Sunday, December the 21st, she was in Phoenix, Arizona. It was Turning Points USA Amerifest Conference. So this is the conservative think tank, foundation, organization, and movement that Charlie Kirk helped to co-found. So she was interviewed by his widow, Erica Kirk, for about 30 minutes. And some of the stuff that Nicki Minaj said out of her mouth left me flabbergasted. She said things like Donald Trump and JD Vance were heroes, that they were role models for our children. She said that when they speak, she can tell that they're speaking for us, that they make us feel proud to be American. She said that they have given us a chance to beat the bad guys and win. She also said something to the effect that really bothered me. Nicki Minaj said, it's not just that, and I'm paraphrasing, I want to try to get it correct, but she said something to the effect that it's not just that we tell black children to feel proud of themselves, but it's like we're doing that. And at the same time, we're telling other children not to feel proud of themselves. And so I guess she was alluding to this false narrative that the conservatives are putting out there, that teaching black children black history and teaching white children the true history of America is somehow going to make white children feel bad about themselves. That bothered me because she's a black woman, or at least I thought she was. She clearly has black children. So are you saying you don't mind your children growing up in a society where they cannot be taught black history or the true history of America because some people feel it offends the self-esteem of white children? And this is so hypocritical, Art, because we've been in America 400 years at least under British North American control. And look at how the self esteem and self worth and self value of black children has been and continues to be compromised for the benefit of the white child. And yet you're telling me that to implement a curriculum of corrective history where you're not insulting white people, you're not denigrating white people, you're simply making sure white children understand that the foundation of this country was laid and built and cemented on the genocide of Native Americans and the enslavement of African people. And not just the enslavement of African people, the dehumanization of African people. What a lot of people don't get, Art, is that although the United States of America was somewhat late to the international slave trade, even though they joined it rather late, the Portuguese had already been in it. The Swedes had already been in it. The British had already been in it. The Roman Catholic Church had already been in it. America was kind of late to the party. But once America got involved in the transatlantic slave trade, what we call the Ma'afa in African culture and in the conscious community, the Ma'afa, even though America was late, America would soon dominate the transatlantic slave trade. I don't think people understand, Art. Many of the streets and back roads of America were created so that they could traffic black people during the domestic slave trade. A lot of people don't understand that. When you see these small streets in front of big streets and all of your 13 colonies and subsequent states that joined the Union as slave territories, those small states, those small streets art in back of the large streets were created so you could sneak the slaves in the alleyway and traffic them in the alley and sell them in the alleyway. So, for example, we're in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, you have Market Street, you have Broad Street. Those are your two major streets. You also have other major streets, but you have a lot of small streets. And sometimes when you go down these streets, your car can barely fit down these streets. And you say, well, why would they make a street this small? They did not make the street for the car. They made the street for the slave wagon. They made the street for the slave coffle. The streets were made long enough, large enough, just so the slaves could be trafficked down them. A lot of people don't even know that the layout of many of America's major cities that were slave states, that existed in slave states, those cities were laid out to benefit and accommodate the domestic slave trade. Because after 1808, 1808 is when America outlawed the international slave trade. They did not outlaw slavery. They just outlawed the importation of Africans. So from 1804 until 1865, how did they get more slaves in America if you couldn't ship them in? They moved to a domestic slave trade, which means what? It means that they had to birth and create their own domestic slave system. And this is where you get the breeding farms. This is where you get the breeding farms where they would get a dozen black women, one black man, and his job was to keep those black women impregnated constantly. They were called the bitches and he was called the buck. And unfortunately, we still refer to each other in those same pejorative terms. We call our women bitches and we call the men bucks or the N word. We use the same terminology on each other that they used on us. So getting back to the Nicki Minaj situation, what bothers me about my sister, and I still love and respect her, and I'm going to hope that she engages in some corrective behavior, because this is insane. This is absolutely insane to see such a talented, beautiful black woman build her career through black culture by way of the hip hop movement, become a multi-millionaire, one of the top selling artists of this century, and to use black culture to build your career and then turn around and use the platform that was created through black culture and hip hop. And now you're going to use your platform and your prominence within our culture to work against the progress of black people by joining Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA against the best interests of black people. It's bothersome. And the issue about this art is, to me, this is the Candace Owens effect. This is the Candace Owens effect. What did Candace Owens do? Back in 2007, Candace Owens and her parents, along with the NAACP in Stamford, Connecticut, sued Candace Owens' school district because Candace Owens was receiving threats from some of her white schoolmates. They were calling her racist names. They were leaving racist voicemails, sexist voicemails. There was threats against Candace Owens, and the school district in Stamford, Connecticut sat by and did nothing. So Candace Owens and her parents, with the NAACP's help, rightfully sued the Stamford, Connecticut School Board, I believe it was, to a tune of $37,500. So you have Candace Owens, a black woman, another very articulate, intelligent, attractive black woman, just like Nicki Minaj, who benefited from civil rights, okay, and used those civil rights that our ancestors fought for to bring suit against a white racist school district. And then she spins the block on civil rights, and now look at her. She goes and gets a white husband, and now she's one of the biggest supporters of the conservative white racist agenda against African people. And as she's touring the country and she's all over the news media, okay, trying to defend the honor, integrity, and legacy of another racist in Charlie Kirk. And don't get me wrong, I didn't appreciate the way that he lost his life. I didn't appreciate black people making a mockery of him because I wouldn't want anybody to be made a mockery of when you lose your life in front of your wife and children. That is not to be made fun of. But at the same time, how is Candace Owens running around championing the legacy of Charlie Kirk while at the same time you made a documentary trying to prove to the whole world that George Floyd was not suffocated to death by the knee of a police officer? So you will make a documentary to try to make a black man who was assassinated look like a criminal, and then you'll turn around and go out of your way and even put your safety and the safety of your children in jeopardy to champion the legacy of a racist Charlie Kirk, who Candace Owens refers to as her best friend. How in the hell can a black woman have a white racist as a best friend? Look at the things Charlie Kirk said about black women. Look at the things Charlie Kirk said about black men. But getting back to Nicki Minaj, I believe that Donald Trump and the conservative movement in this country selected Nicki Minaj because they needed a replacement for Candace Owens. Remember, Candace Owens has fallen out of favor with the Republican Party and the mainstream conservative white agenda because she's now exposing the Zionist control of the conservative movement and of the United States government. In fact, Art, I would argue that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I believe, by the Zionist movement. Charlie Kirk began to question Zionist infiltration of the U.S. government. He began to question Zionist control of U.S. institutions, systems, and industries. And he began to get a little bit out of hand with his rebuke of the Israeli agenda. I believe that's why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I believe that because he was becoming so unapologetic in his criticism of the Israeli influence in America, along with the Zionist influence of America, that he was unalived. And because Candace Owens followed suit behind Charlie Kirk, and she started exposing the Zionist control of the United States government, they had to distance themselves from Candace. So if we're going to distance ourselves from Candace, and this is Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and the mainstream white conservative movement, we got to find another black woman. We got to find another black woman who can compete with Candace Owens nationally and internationally to bring attention away from Candace Owens, who is highlighting the Israeli influence on American politics. And so who better to use than Nicki Minaj? Now, I don't know why Nicki Minaj is doing this. I don't know if she's getting paid. I don't know if it's a favor. I don't know if it's an exchange, as some people have suggested. Okay, I don't know. But I know it's not right. I know it's wrong. I mean, look at all the black women, Art, who Donald Trump has had laid off of their jobs. According to the Department of Labor, between 300 and 400,000 black women have lost their jobs since March because of Donald Trump's policies. So Nicki Minaj, in all respect, if you see yourself as a black woman, how can you sit up there with Erica Kirk and talk about black kids being made to be proud of themselves at the expense of white children? Where has that ever happened, Art? I'm an educator. I'm a principal. I'm a school psychologist. I ain't been in no school in America where white kids are made to feel bad about being white so black children can be proud about their African heritage. Where is that at? Somebody show me where white kids are being mistreated at the expense or for the benefit of black children. First of all, most teachers are white. Most public schools are white controlled. Most private schools are white controlled. All your Catholic schools are white controlled. What are we talking about? Most lawyers in America are white. Most doctors in America are white. Most real estate in America is owned by white people. Most politicians are white. In the U.S. Senate, you only have 3 black senators. You might get 4 if Jasmine Crockett wins, but they don't have any influence. Cory Booker, what good has he been? Raphael Warnock, what good has he been? Tim Scott, what good has he been? And if Jasmine Crockett wins, what good will she be? So, this notion that white people are losing because of a liberal agenda to benefit black people, where is the evidence of this? Here's what we know, Art. When you understand the science of racism, racism is always being most racist when they act like racism does not exist. Let's go back to Barack Obama's presidency. When Barack Obama got elected, the racism said, we are living in a post-racial America. We have a black president, so maybe we don't need black fraternities and sororities anymore. We have a black president, so maybe we don't need the NAACP. We have a black president, maybe we don't need historically black colleges anymore. This was the propaganda that white supremacy put out when Barack Obama was elected. And what happened during Obama's administration? We saw a white police brutality and assassination campaign against the black community like we've never seen in recent history. Whenever they try to act like race don't matter, that's exactly when they're about to become more racist. Now, I want to draw a parallel to this, Art, because right now, Donald Trump is waging war against Venezuela. Even though war can only be declared by Congress, Donald Trump has taken it upon himself to wage war against the Venezuelan government. Now, how does this relate to Nicki Minaj? I'm going to tell you. Nicki Minaj, her parents and herself, they're from Trinidad and Tobago. If I'm not mistaken, Nicki Minaj may have been born in Trinidad or Tobago. If she wasn't, at least her parents were. At least her father was. Rest in peace to him and condolences to the family for their loss of her father. Nobody should ever lose their life in that manner. So her father is of East Indian and African heritage. So he's mixed race, East Indian and African Trinidadian. Her mother, I believe, may be an American African. But from what I understand, the mother's all black. The father is black and East Indian. So Nicki Minaj carries within her the DNA of the East Indian people and the African people. And my question to Sister Nicki Minaj, and I hesitate to call her sister, but I'm going to do it anyway, because until I get clarity from her, I'm not going to assume the worst. But a question I would need to ask Nicki Minaj, Art, do you primarily identify as a black woman? Or do you primarily identify as an East Indian? And the reason I got to ask her that, Art, not only is she turning her back on the same black America that made her famous, not only is she turning her back on the same black America that made her famous, Art, but right now, Donald Trump has carried out 29 different strikes on Venezuelan seagoing vessels, Art. The Caribbean Sea, Donald Trump has seized oil tankers from Venezuela. He has murdered at least 105 Venezuelans. Allegedly, that's what the media is reporting. There's only one Caribbean country, Art, that is standing in solidarity with Donald Trump. Guess who it is? Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister of Trinidad, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Nicki Minaj's ancestral homeland. Well, technically, your ancestral homeland is Africa, okay? But the birthland of her parents and maybe herself, Trinidad and Tobago, they are the only Caribbean country, or should I say, the main Caribbean country, standing in solidarity with Donald Trump's unilateral and illegal move to declare war on Venezuela without the approval of the U.S. Congress. Now, Art, you might ask the question, why is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago going against the entire Caribbean community and standing with Donald Trump? You want to know why? Most Caribbean islands have a black president and or black prime minister. Trinidad and Tobago is unique, Art, because the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, a woman by the name of Kamala, first name Kamala, okay, not Kamala, not to be confused with Kamala, but Prime Minister Kamala of Trinidad and Tobago is an East Indian. So even though the population of Trinidad and Tobago, Art, is 40% black, it's also 40% East Indian, and it's 20% mixed. And I've been to Trinidad and Tobago. And do you know what I was told by the Trinidadian and Tobagan Africans there, our black brothers and sisters? They told me that Trinidad and Tobago is dominated by the East Indians. They told me that they are racist, that they control the import and export. They told me that they control the drug trade. They told me that they control the used car industry. I was even told in Trinidad and Tobago by our black brothers and sisters, our Trinidadian African brothers and sisters, that if an ethnic war broke out, if a race war broke out in Trinidad and Tobago between the blacks and the East Indians, we would probably lose. Because even though we're 40% of the population and they're 40% of the population, they control the entire infrastructure, Art. So when I say I would like to respectfully know whether or not Sister Nicki Minaj identifies as an East Indian or an African, that's not just for American African purposes, Art. That's for Trinidadian African purposes, because I need to know if she identifies with the oppressed black people of Trinidad and Tobago, who are being oppressed by who? East Indians. Remember, Art, when the white man left the Caribbean, he put the East Indians in charge. A lot of people don't know that. When the white man left the Caribbean to make sure black people would never get sole control of their island, he left East Indians in charge and he left Chinese in charge. And if you go to almost any Caribbean island today, you will find that either the East Indians or the Chinese are doing better than black people, even if there's more black people on the island. Trinidad and Tobago is unique because you have just as much East Indians as you have Africans. So I need to know if Nicki Minaj stands with the East Indians of Trinidad and Tobago, who are oppressing our brothers and sisters on that island, or does she stand with her Trinidadian African brothers and sisters, as do I? But getting back to this, Art, I believe that Nicki Minaj was selected for 3 reasons. Number 1, they need somebody to neutralize Candace Owens and Jasmine Crockett. They need somebody to neutralize the conservative movement led by Donald Trump, the mainstream conservative movement led by Donald Trump. They need Candace Owens and Jasmine Crockett politically neutralized. They're hoping that Nicki Minaj's status in the hip hop industry and her popularity, not only in America, but around the world, will be enough to take care of 2 birds with 1 stone. That's the first reason they chose her. The second reason they chose her is they wanted to show Trinidad and Tobago that if you support us, we will support you. Nicki Minaj is one of your fellow country persons. Her ancestry is from Trinidad and Tobago. She has a mixed race parent from Trinidad and Tobago. So because you're standing up for Donald Trump's imperialist agenda against Venezuela, we're going to put one of yours in the limelight for us. This is geopolitical, Art. Now let me go a step further. Some people ask the question, why is Donald Trump doing everything the Zionists are asking of him? The reason Donald Trump is doing everything, Art, that the Zionists are asking of him, because Donald Trump is in those Epstein files. Donald Trump is in those Epstein files. Congress has already ordered the Department of Justice, Art, to release all the Epstein files by Friday. Congress ordered the Justice Department, Donald Trump's Justice Department, to release all the files by Friday. Just today, Art, they released some more today. And guess what? Donald Trump's name is mentioned in those files allegedly hundreds of times. There is clear proof that Donald Trump was on Epstein's jet multiple times. And the question is being asked by the media, even if Donald Trump did not engage in any of the sex abuse of children and adults, was he aware of it? Because if he was aware of it, he can be charged as an accomplice to the crime. And here's the thing. Jeffrey Epstein, Art, was a Mossad agent. Jeffrey Epstein was Israeli secret intelligence. Jeffrey Epstein was Israeli secret intelligence. And I believe that the Mossad, the Israeli Secret Service, used Jeffrey Epstein to blackmail all of the top politicians, all of the top businessmen, and all of the top politicians, businessmen, and entertainers in America in order to coerce them, Art, to do whatever the Zionists want them to do. And if you don't, we will expose your participation in the Epstein ring. You see how that works? The Zionists, Art, they use blackmail. They have a file on almost every politician in DC, black and white. Now, let me tell you how they played Donald Trump. During his first term, they let Donald Trump think he was in charge. During his first term, they let Donald Trump think he was commander in chief. During his first term, they let Donald Trump go against COVID. They let Donald Trump go against the LGBT. They let him do what he wanted to do. You know why? Because they was looking towards Donald Trump's second term. They said when he gets back in the second term, Art, we're going to sit his ass down. We're going to let him know who's in charge. We're going to let him know what he's going to do. And if he tries to be arrogant and narcissistic and belligerent, as he has shown the world he can be, we're going to let him know. Jeffrey Epstein worked for us. And now you work for us. Why? Because you was very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a very long time. And we know you know what he was doing, and you did nothing to stop it, even if you didn't participate. You want to know why Donald Trump is attacking Venezuela, Art? Venezuela has an oil deal with Iran. And as you know, Israel can't stand Iran. America can't stand Iran. Venezuela has an oil deal with Iran. That's not good for the Zionists. So they're making Donald Trump attack Venezuela in the name of the Zionists. And Trinidad and Tobago is standing with Trump. And so therefore Trump is elevating Nicki Minaj to national stature as a payback to the Trinidad and Tobago government. Art, Donald Trump can't get out of this if he wanted to. Whatever the Zionists tell him to do, he will do it. I heard J.D. Vance mention Nicki Minaj by name at least 4 times in his speech that he gave at Turning Point USA's conference in Phoenix on Sunday. He mentioned Nicki Minaj by name at least 4 times. And don't forget, Art, where was Nicki Minaj on November the 18th? On November the 18th, Nicki Minaj was at the United Nations. Art, how does a hip hop artist, no disrespect to my sister, Nicki is an intelligent sister, beautiful family. This ain't personal, this political, Art. But how does a rapper, how does a hip hop artist go from rap to giving speeches at the United Nations? And on November the 18th, Nicki Minaj gave a speech supporting Donald Trump's intervention in northern Nigeria on behalf of the Christians. Let me ask you a question, Art. Since when did Donald Trump start caring about black Christians? He don't care about the black Christians right here in America. What has Donald Trump done about miseducation for black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done about police brutality against black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done about homelessness and gentrification against black Christians in America? What has Donald Trump done against economic apartheid waged against black Christians in America? Since when did Donald Trump start giving a damn about black Christians? So let me get this right, Art. You're not doing nothing for the black Christians in America, but you're going to go all the way to northern Nigeria. You're going to go all the way to northern Nigeria and save Nigerian Christians from genocide and abuse. Now, first, Art, let me say this. There is genocide and abuse, some genocide against my northern Nigerian Christian brothers and sisters by Muslims in the northern region that I don't condone. If the international reports are right, you've had 10,000 northern Nigerian Christians who've been massacred over so many of these past years. It's wrong. I don't condone it. And I hope the Nigerian government gets this under control. Northern Nigeria, Art, is mostly Muslim. Southern Nigeria is mostly Christian. So the Muslims who are living, the Christians who are living in Muslim-dominated northern Nigeria, they're the ones who are being harmed. But guess what, Art? This was going on when Donald Trump was president the first time. If this was going on when Donald Trump was president the first time, why didn't he do something about it then? Because he's not threatening military invasion in Nigeria because he cared about Christians. Because if that were the case, Art, why don't he do something about the South Sudanese who are being genocided right now? Why don't Donald Trump do something about the Sudanese who are being genocided right now? Why is he ignoring the Sudanese genocide, Art? Why is he ignoring the child slaves in the Congo, Art? Since he cares so much about black people, let me tell you why. Donald Trump is ignoring the genocide in Sudan because it's being carried out by Arabs from the United Arab Emirates. The Arabs from the UAE are in the Sudan killing and genociding our black Sudanese brothers and sisters to control the oil and the other natural resources. And here's the kicker, Art. Where does the United Arab Emirates get most of their weapons from? Who is the number one military supplier of weapons to the Arabs of the UAE? Donald Trump's government.
Wow.
Listen to this, Art. Ain't that crazy? You're talking about you're going to invade Nigeria to protect my Christian brothers and sisters in the north, but you giving weapons to Dubai. You're giving weapons to the Arabs and UAE so they can come into Sudan and genocide black people in the name of natural resources, but you care about the blacks in Nigeria. Give me a break. And what about in the Congo, Art? You got children dying, mass murder, humanitarian crisis, hunger in the Congo, been going on for years. Donald Trump won't do anything about it. You know why? Because they're mining coltan and cobalt for who? Apple computers, and for Elon Musk Tesla cars, and for American military systems. So Donald Trump isn't going to say one word about the Congo because it benefits white capitalism. He's not going to say one word about Sudan because it benefits white capitalism. And don't get me started on Haiti and what America is doing in Haiti. Since you love black Christians so much, what about the black Christians in Haiti? What about all the Haitians whose asylum in America you just canceled out and you're now hunting them down like animals all across America and sending them back to Haiti? What about them? What about the airstrikes, Art, that America has carried out in Somalia, killing innocent men, women, and children? Many of them are Christian as well, although it's an Islamic country. What about them? So you got all of these genocides of black people going on around the world. Christians, as they want to say, being murdered, but Donald Trump don't see them. He only sees the one in Nigeria. And let me tell you why, Art. I know you're familiar with Ibrahim Traoré and the Sahel Alliance. Ibrahim Traoré is the president of Burkina Faso. You also have the president of Niger, Chiani, and you have General Goita of Mali, right?
Right.
The real reason, Art, and I need you to get this, the real reason Donald Trump wants to invade northern Nigeria, Art, has nothing to do with black Christians. Nothing to do with my Christian brothers and sisters in the north. Northern Nigeria sits under what country, Art? Northern Nigeria sits right under Niger, one of the three countries in the Sahel Alliance. Nigeria borders Niger. And why is Niger so important, Art? Who is the number one supplier of uranium in the world? Niger. Do you know what you need uranium for, Art? Nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs, nuclear technology, nuclear warheads. Niger is the number one supplier of uranium. And in the nuclear age, Art, uranium is the vibranium of Black Panther. In the nuclear age, uranium is the vibranium that they talked about in the Black Panther movie. So the reason Donald Trump needs to get into northern Nigeria, Art, so they can invade and try to overthrow President Chiani in Niger so they can get control of the uranium. Are you with me so far?
I follow you.
Not only does Niger have uranium, they have gold and other resources. And then next to Niger, you have who? Mali. Mali has gold, Mali has copper, Mali has zinc, and unlimited natural resources. And then Burkina Faso is only a hop, skip, and a jump from northern Nigeria. And you know they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore. And we pray to God and the ancestors that never happens. But they want to get rid of Ibrahim Traore because he's the leader. And what does Burkina Faso have a whole lot of? Gold, Art. Donald Trump wants to geopolitically and strategically put the U.S. military in northern Nigeria so they have easy access to invade Niger right above, Mali right above to the left, and Burkina Faso right above even further to the left. Do you see that?
Right, I see.
This is about overthrowing independent African states, Art. Donald Trump don't give a damn about no black Christians in Nigeria. He don't care about the ones here. So for my sister Nicki Minaj, to go to the United Nations and give voice to Donald Trump's false flag of caring about Christian Nigerians and Black Africa is a disservice to her race. Nicki Minaj, I want you to reconsider this. Please don't go down the path of Candace Owens, sister. Please recant while you can, but I don't know if she can, Art. She might be in too deep. You done already went to the UN speaking on behalf of Donald Trump's agenda to invade Nigeria so he can overthrow the Sahel Alliance. You done already went to Turning Point USA's Amerifest conference talking about how Donald Trump makes you feel proud to be an American. Talking about how when Donald Trump and JD Vance speak, you know they speaking for us. And then she said, Art, that I don't want any, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said something like, I don't want any white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes to not be proud of themselves in order for black children to be proud of themselves. I'm not quoting her exactly correct, but she's basically parroting that narrative that teaching corrective history in America's schools, teaching black history in American schools, teaching the truth about American slavery in these schools, Art, is going to somehow damage white kids psychologically. Art, there ain't a white child in America who give a damn about what black people think about them. There's not a white person in America who gives a damn about what black people think about them. You know what this really is about? Sanitizing the history, Art, because on July 4th, 2026, America turns 250 years old. On July 4th, 2026, right here in Philadelphia, a few blocks from where we are, there's going to be a massive 250th birthday party for white supremacy. A massive birthday party for white supremacy, and Donald Trump and the rest of America wants to make sure that nobody spoils the party by telling the truth about how this country was built on the backs of African enslaved. That's what this is, Art. And Nicki Minaj is allowing herself to be used to undermine the self-respect and dignity of black people, the proper education of black children in the schools. She's allowing herself to be used as a stool pigeon to help propagate Donald Trump's agenda to invade Nigeria so he could try to overthrow Niger for the uranium, Mali for the gold, the nickel, the copper, the zinc, and Burkina Faso and its leader for the abundant gold in the unapologetically African position that Ibrahim Traore is taking. I'm disappointed in my sister. And then JD Vance, Art, he gets up there after Nicki Minaj and he says, in the United States, you no longer have to be ashamed to be white. When did white people, when did I miss something? When were white people ever made to feel ashamed in this country? When? Somebody give me a day, a month, an hour, a minute. This country is created by white people, dominated by white people, ran by white people for the benefit of white people. Black people have never had the upper hand in this country. So for J.D. Vance to say you no longer have to be ashamed to be white, who owned the banks? White people. Who owned the supermarkets? White people. Who owned the hospitals? White people. Who owned the schools? White people. Who sell the cars, the gas, the oil? White people. Who owned the ships? White people. So how in the hell does J.D. Vance break breath to say you no longer have to be ashamed to be white? In conclusion, Art, I would just say that I'm disappointed in my sister Nicki. You have no business using hip hop music to build yourself in black culture. Very talented sister, very articulate sister, very intelligent sister, tremendous lyricist. Few sisters I could put in front of her in terms of lyrical talent. But how dare you build a comfortable life for you and your beautiful family on black culture and
Appreciate you for clicking on the video. Before you go, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out.